that's starting now. So we're recording. Kayla's coming in on a new device, so we'll see if she can get something that works. And then, so I'm going to share my iPad screen with you. So you're going to want to find a way that you can, write on your assignment and view the Zoom session at the same time. All right, so 2 devices is probably not a bad idea for everybody if you can do it. Oh, I stopped it. All right. There we go. So pop over to Notability. That's not what we want. Okay. And I've already got it done there. How do I do this? All right, I got to do one thing before we. Okay, now we're ready.
Where's Katie?
She's right there.
Yeah, I don't want to tilt it up because then, like, there's baby picture of me back there.
I couldn't figure out how to use my camera. You have to hit like the video thing.
Yeah, and you can still see even if I'm sharing, you should still be able to see everybody's video feeds on the side there. I think you can pick a different couple types of views if you want. All right, so we got the packet right here. Any questions on a practice problem before we do number 11?
Well, can we just like do one just so I can like see how it's done?
Yes. Let's do it.
I'm
gonna do here's how it really breaks down, and then somebody can tell me why I'm saying this. Number 1 through 4, those are the easy ones, and 5 through 8 are the more difficult ones. Why am I saying that?
Because they're positive in the bottom. No, just kidding.
Oh, because you have, I don't know.
You're on the right track. The signs have a lot to do with it.
Because the ones in the middle are. Oh, just kidding.
Most of them are like the same number.
Well, we're looking for opposites. Remember?
Yeah.
We want opposite coefficients right here. All right. We want terms that have opposite coefficients. When you add them together, I should have my notes file up, but that's okay. When you add them together, you get 0. And that's the whole purpose that's why we call this elimination. We have to be able to eliminate one of the variables by adding the equations together. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. And I'll show you when we do an example, like we'll do number 5 after this. And I'll show you why you can't just add the equations together all the time and expect to be able to solve the system, okay? So with this one, it works. And I call these easy because we can jump in and we can go ahead and add the equations together. Because what's going to happen when we add the x's together? Anybody?
They're going to cancel out.
That's right. We get a 0, right? We get 0x. 1 plus -1 is 0. So that drops out. That's the whole reason that we can solve this system. If we had an x term that wasn't 0, you'd still have an x in the resulting equation, and we still have a y, and you can't solve an equation that has 2 variables. So when we add the y's, we get 5y, and then we add 27 and 8, and we get 5y equals 25. Okay. So now this is a one-step equation. The algebra is super simple, and all we're going to do is divide both sides by 5, and we get y equals 5. So,
that was so much easier than I thought.
Well, and that's because if you know what you're looking for when you start, then you know how to attack the problem. And if not, then it's really hard to get started. Once you get started, like I said, the math is not too tough because it's always a one-step equation to solve for that other variable. So now, but we're not done yet, because what else do we have to do?
Find x.
Right, we need x. But that's the last step in this is the last step. It's the same as the last step of substitution. Once we have one of the variables, we're just going to put it back into one of the equations for that variable, and then we'll have an equation that only has one variable in it, the x. So I'm going to take x plus 3, and instead of putting y, I'm going to put what y is equal to, which is 5, equals 17. Now we can solve this. So we get x plus 15 equals 17.
It's 2.
And it is 2, that's right. Subtract 15 from both sides. You all can do your work faster than I can, I know, but that's what we get. So if we're leaving our answer in an ordered pair form, which you should get in the habit of, then that means the point, number one, the point 25 on the coordinate plane is the only point where both of those lines are going to be. So that's where the two lines are going to cross. Secondly, it tells us that x equals 2 and y equals 5. And if we were to plug those numbers, that's the only combination of numbers that's going to make both of those equations true when we plug it in for x and y. Okay, so those are the easy ones. If you look at the rest of them, let me get my laser pointer out here. Okay, so in number 2, we have opposite coefficients here. So the y's are going to cancel out in number 2. Number 3, we have 5x and negative 5x. And so the x's are going to cancel out there. And then in 4, we have negative 5y and positive 5y. So those are going to cancel out. So we don't have to do any work to get these equations in the form where something's going to get eliminated. In 5 through 8, all of these, we have to manipulate the equations somehow so that when we add them together, one of the variables drops out. Because if I go ahead, I'll show you what I mean. If we go ahead and just start adding these equations together, I'm going to get 3x here plus 3y equals 39. And that's an equation, yeah, that's an equation we can't solve, right? Do I solve for x? Do I solve for y? How do I get rid of one just to get the other by itself? You really can't. There's no way to do it. So that's why we have to change one or both of these equations to manipulate. We're going to change them so that we get opposite coefficients. So when you do this, this is the tricky part of elimination because there are millions of ways that you can do it right, but there's usually only 1 or 2 that are the easiest. Okay, so tell me the easiest way that we can change one or both of these equations to get opposite coefficients for one of our variables. What do you think? What can we do? Look at we have a 1x and a 2x and a 2y and a 1y.
Make one 0. Make like x 0 or y 0.
We want it to be a 0 when we add the equations together, so we want the coefficients to be opposite. We want the numbers in front of them to be opposite. So what can we do to make that happen?
You can times the top one by 2 and times the bottom one by -1.
Yes, you absolutely can. And there actually is an even easier way. So this is what Grace said, and she is 100% right, but there might be an easier way even than doing this. Okay, she said you can multiply the top one by 2, and that'll give us, laser pointer, that'll
Or
give us
-2.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking, Avery. Okay, she caught what I was talking about. If you multiply, this is what Grace was going to do, and like I said, nothing wrong with it. It'll work perfectly as long as you multiply them right. But this is going to give us a positive 2x here, and this will give us a negative 2x here. What Avery was saying is, why don't we just do it all in one step and multiply the top equation by a -2? And then that gives us a negative 2x on top and a positive 2x on bottom. So that is, I would say, the easiest way, because I know multiplying by -1 doesn't seem like it's hard, but that's where mistakes are made, right? We make most of our mistakes on signs. So if we can cut out multiplying both equations by a number and just multiply one, that gives us just less calculations where we might possibly make a mistake. All right. So, and it's always a great idea to rewrite both equations. Even if you didn't change one of them, I like to write them, line things up, keep things neat so that you don't lose track of anything. So we have 2 times x is, negative 2x. Negative 2 times positive 2y is negative 4y. And negative 2 times 20 is negative 40. And then we rewrite the bottom equation. We didn't change anything, so just stays the same, line everything up, and then we're ready to add now. So the x's are gone, that's a 0. Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3y, and negative 40 plus 19 is negative 21. All right, then we divide, and like I said, one-step equation, super easy to solve. We find y in one step, y is 7. And then, of course, we're going to go back and put that into one of the equations for x. All right, I'll use the bottom equation here just to show you that it does not matter which equation you use. You'll get the right answer. So that gives me 2x. You got 6? All right, let's see if she's right. 2x plus, I'm going to put parentheses in there. We really don't need them this time. But that's a good habit to get into when we substitute numbers in. You always want to use parentheses. So we'll just drop those. We're going to subtract 7, 2x equals 12, divide by 2, divide by 2, x equals 6. So this is the work I'm expecting to see from you on all these problems. And remember, this is the packet's worth 30 points. All right, so you're getting 10 points just for doing the notes. You're getting 10 points for doing all 8 practice problems and showing work. And you're getting 10 points for the applications page. So if you're not showing work, you're going to lose at least half of that, probably more. So let's make sure we're always showing everything. I don't just want to see answers. I want to see how you're doing. All right. So any questions on how to do that, or like how to decide what the best way is?
Nope.
Okay, I know what you're here for. All right. Let's go to number 11. Okay, and if you want to talk about 10, I know I got 10 started for you, but we can finish 10 after this if you want to stick around. And remember, you can come and go anytime. So if you want to leave after I do this problem, my feelings won't be hurt. It'll be okay. I might cry a little bit, but you can watch it on the video later. So it's fine. You won't miss anything. All right. So Medium Mo is so bored during her spring break staycation that she watches a bunch of YouTube videos on knitting. She decides to knit matching socks and hats for all of her family members, including herself, and for all of her dogs too. When she finishes, she has 12 hats and 34 socks in total. How many dogs does Medium Mo have? Okay, so this is a great question because you don't feel like you really got enough information to write down 2 equations, but let's start where we always start. Where do we always start with the story problem?
The question?
The question that it asks you, and what do we use that to do?
X value?
I'm looking for 3 little words. I love hearing these 3 little words when somebody starts a story problem. Actually, they're not that little.
Variables.
There it is. Who said that?
I did.
Good job, Grace. Define the variable. Yes. Okay. So we need to know what our variables are and what they're representing so that we can make sense of the problem. So whatever they're asking us to find, that's definitely going to be at least one of our variables. And you can see they don't ask about how many family members she has, including herself, but that's also important for us to know too, because if she's making 12 hats and we know how many dogs she has, then we should be able to figure out how many people are in her family as well. So the first thing we're going to do, stop doing that, okay, is we're going to define X is the number of dogs. And why don't I'll use this instead. Pretty good at using this. Okay, and that's because how many dogs is Medium Mo? That's what they're asking us to find. So whatever we haven't found yet, that's going to be our unknown value. It's going to be our variable. So and then Y is going to be the number of family members she has, because remember, they're factoring into this just the same way that the dogs are. So we do have to, even though they're only asking us for one answer, we still need both to set up the equations. Okay, so number of family members. All right, now let's write these equations. What are the 2 equations going to be based on? What do we know about the problem? What kind of information have we been given? Just throw it at anything.
How many hats and socks you ended up with?
Right, hats and socks. Okay, so we could make one equation about the number of hats, and we could make one equation about the number of socks. Okay, so that's a good place to start. So I'm going to color code them here. We'll use blue and red. All right, so what do we know about the number of hats that she needs to make? Well, we don't know how many dogs she has. We don't know how many people are in her family, but we do know how many hats a person needs, right? How many heads do you have?
1.
One. All All right, so each person needs one hat. How about dogs? Do they have a different number of heads?
No.
No,
No.
not unless you are Medusa. I think she had a 3-headed dog. And we're not. None of us are Medusa. So we know that however many dogs there are and however many family members there are, they all need one hat. So we could say that the number of dogs, which is X, plus the number of family members, which is Y, should equal 15. I'm sorry, not 15, 12. Because she made 12 hats. So really there are ones here, but we usually don't show those in algebra. So it's like one hat per person, one hat per dog. Add those together, we get 12. All right. So what is our equation going to be for socks then? Let's use that same logic.
2x.
4y.
You're close, but you got them backwards. Because X is dogs.
4x plus
4x plus 2y.
Right, 4X. Why is it 4X?
Because dogs have 4 feet.
Dogs have 4 feet. They have 4 legs. They need 4 socks. Very good. And people have 2 legs, so they only need 2 socks per person. So that's where the 2y comes from. And then since you made 34 socks in total, then those are our 2 equations. Okay. That's the tough part, right? Now we've got the equation. We can solve it using elimination, but do we have opposite coefficients?
Mm-mm.
No. So Kendall, tell me the best way to get opposite coefficients.
Multiply the hats one by -4.
Yes. Or what else could we multiply it by? That would also work.
-2.
-2, right? If we want to eliminate the y's, then we'll do -2. If we want to eliminate the x's, we'll do -4. Now, if this is advanced thinking. You don't have to think like this. You can just go ahead and solve the whole problem and then answer the question. But if we want to find out the answer for the number of dogs she has, which is what the question asks us, we would want to eliminate y and then solve for x. So I am going to multiply both sides by -2. And I'm sorry, -4, like Kendall said. All right, so we show that. Okay, so multiply this by -4. That's going to give me -4x minus 4y. Oh, I did this backwards. It doesn't matter. I'll do it the long way. I confuse myself on this one. It happens to the best of us. All right, so we're gonna get an answer for y here, and then we're gonna have to plug that back in to find x so we can answer the problem. Okay, so I'm keeping the bottom equation exactly the same. I multiplied the top equation by -4. Now we're ready to go. Let's change colors. Red and blue make purple. So purple. All right. Zooming in now. X's cancel out. We get -2y when we add those equals, what would that be? -14. Divide by -2, divide by -2. Y equals 7. All right, so if she has 7 people in her family, including herself, how many dogs does she have?
5.
Yes, very good. She has 5 because she made 12 hats. So 7 of those hats go to people. The other 5 have to go to dogs. Here's how you would figure it out. I'm sure you know this already, but we're going to take that top equation just because it's simpler. And we're going to do x plus y, which is 7, equals 12. And then we can subtract 7, we get x equals 5. All right, so of course, you're gonna be student of the year, and you're going to answer this question with a complete thought. So you're gonna say, medium Mo has 5 dogs. You're gonna put a box around it, and you're gonna make sure that box is exactly the right size. Okay, look at that. A little dog. I tried to draw a dog in the other video. It didn't go well, so maybe I'll try side view of a dog. No, oh boy, I broke it.
Are these names Morgan, Haley, and Emma?
Yeah, they're from my other honors 2 class. That's what they always put in when we do cahoots in class. Those are the names they always put in. So I thought I'd have a little fun with them. They didn't seem to mind. Maybe I'll make fun of some of you in the next packet.
Do
Who knows?
Bronny. Do Bronny.
Grace and Bronny.
Do Avery
Yeah, I'll
and
do a
Laney.
Grace and
Avery
Bronny
Laney.
question for sure.
Yes.
And Avery and Laney.
Avery and Laney.
My name
Katie and
is
Kendall.
always just Olivia Hedgehog emoji.
Mr. Schaab,
Yes.
can I go to the bathroom?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to allow you to. Pretty much because I can't stop you. You don't have to ask. You can just go. Nobody.
That was so funny.
How many teachers have you said that to, Avery?
Just a few.
What is it? Is it TikTok?
No, it's just funny because you can go whenever you want and like you don't
Right.
actually have to ask.
Yeah. Just don't take your iPad with you.
Don't worry, I won't.
I've seen some horror story videos of people who've done that while they're in Zoom meetings. You don't want to be in that group. Okay, so who else has questions? You want to talk about number 10?
On like the regular problems,
Mm-hmm.
I swapped both numbers. So like I made one of them negative and then I divided it by the other number. Or not divided, multiplied it by the other number.
Yeah, me too. And I got the
So
same
you-
answers.
That's fine. That's what I was saying before. There are literally infinite ways to do it correctly. But I always try and show you how to simplify it, how to make it the simplest. Sometimes you have to multiply both equations by something. Sometimes you only have to do it to one equation. And when that's the case, it's not, you all can do the math by now. It just helps us to eliminate those like mistakes, those lapses we have in judgment where we just type in the wrong thing on the calculator or whatever. The fewer calculations you have to do, the better off you're going to be. So I try and show you, like in the situations where, like this one, you could multiply the bottom equation by 2 and the top equation by -8, but that's more work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you did it a different way and got the same answer, then great, you're doing it right. Okay, so I think I already have it done from the other class. So why don't I'll just show you number 10 and we can kind of talk about it. Okay, so Big M and Lil Hay are reading each other trivia quizzes over FaceTime. Sia knows more about Shawn Mendes. He's still popular, right?
Yeah.
Don't know. Okay. The question has 2 types, true, false, and multiple choice. If they get a true, false question correct, they get 2 points. And if they get a multiple choice question correct, they get 5 points. M goes first. She answers 15 questions correctly. Okay, so there's some information. And she gets a score. She gets a score of 57 points. How many multiple choice questions did M get correct? All right, so in my notes, I set up the equation for you. There's one equation, just like the last one, where one equation was based on the number of hats and one was based on the number of socks. The information they gave us this time was she answered 15 questions and she got 57 points. So those 2 labels, questions and points, are what we're using to set up our equation. All right, so we have if X is the number of true, false questions, Y is the number of multiple choice questions. Let me get the laser pointer out here. Okay, then we could say that the number of questions, there's only 2 types of questions, so they have to make up all 15 questions that Emily answered. Emma, not Emily. We get X plus Y equals 15. That's true, false questions plus multiple choice questions equals all of the questions. And then the bottom equation, 2X plus 5Y equals 57. That comes from how many points you get for true, false, and how many points you get for multiple choice. And that equals the total number of points. All right, so all we have to do, the quickest way, now remember, You can multiply the top equation by 2 and the bottom equation by -1. That'll work as well. But the quickest way is to just multiply that top equation by -2 to get rid of the x's. You could also multiply the top equation by -5 to get rid of the y's, okay, because there's a positive 5y down here. Okay, so, but anyway, I did this. I rewrote it here. And then the x's cancel. The y's, we get a +3. And when we add -30 and 57, we get 27. So you can see we end up getting y equals 9. Right there, we had the question answered. So we could stop right there technically and say that N got 9 multiple choice questions correct. But if you want to know how many true false questions there are, it doesn't take much math to figure out. If, you know, if there's 15 questions and 9 of them are multiple choice, then 6 of them have to be true false. Sound good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Did anybody draw a devil emoji on their paper?
Oh, I did.
Oh, good. I can't wait to look at them. I'll try and hide some on these packets when I do my notes. I'll try and hide some more fun things like that on there. Just something to mix it up. So while I got you here, if you have some more questions, you can ask them. But I'm gonna go ahead and pause this recording. Okay, so now we're talking about how to decide, like, when you have to multiply equations by numbers to get opposite coefficients. How do you decide the best way to do that? Well, it goes back to like your 3rd grade skills on, does anybody remember least common multiple? Finding the least common multiple of 2 numbers?
Oh yeah.
LCM and GCF. Okay, so that's really what you need to do here, because we want a multiple of both numbers, right? If we have to turn in, let's focus on 3x and 4x. If we have to turn those in to the same number, which we really do because we just make the signs different so that they're opposites, but we want the numbers to be the same. So if we have to turn them into the same number, we don't want to be dividing. Like, I don't want to multiply. I could multiply 3 by 4/3, and that would give me 4. But then I'd have to multiply 2 by 4/3 and -2 by 4/3, and then I'm working with fractions for the rest of the problem. So it's better to just multiply both equations by a number that gives you a common multiple of the two. So if we have 3 and 4, what's the least common multiple of 3 and 4? Anybody? Okay, go through your multiples. Multiples are numbers that are bigger than 3 that you would multiply, like on your times tables. So 3, 6, 9, 12. Which one is also a multiple of 4?
12.
12. So we could turn them both into 12s. And by doing, or this is how we would do it. We'd have to turn this into a 12. We'd have to multiply this equation by, I'll put it over here, 4. And to turn this term into a 12, we'd have to multiply this equation by 3. So, but that's going to turn them into the exact same number. And we don't want the exact same number. We want opposites. So I can multiply the top equation. Whoops, put it on the wrong side. I can multiply the top equation by -4, or I can multiply the bottom equation by -3. Either way, that's going to give us different signs on our terms. So, okay, and that would work. So that would give me the equations 12x minus 8y equals -8. And on bottom, I would get -12x. Okay, there's our laser pointer. There's our negative or our opposite coefficients. They're the same number, different sign. And then -3 times -3 is positive 9y. And then -3 times -4 is positive 12. Right there. Okay, so now we're ready to add these together. These would cancel and we would get an answer for the y's. Now, let's try that again. And Olivia, you can answer this one this time. Okay, what if we want to eliminate the y's? What if we want to get opposite coefficients on the y terms? What's a common multiple of 2 and 3?
6.
Exactly. So we can turn them both into 6s. So what would I have to multiply the top equation by to do that? Turn that 2 to a 6.
Oh, 3.
3.
Like -3. Would it be?
Okay, yeah, so let's make it a -3. So that'll change that to a +6, okay? And then how do I turn that -3 into a -6?
Times 2. Or
Very
would
good.
it be-
Or would it be -2? That's a good question. Would it be -2?
No,
No, it would not be.
because then they would both be negative.
Right. Or actually they'd both be positive, but yes, they'd be the same sign. We don't want them to be the same sign. So
Oh, yeah.
so let me write that over here. So that would be -9x plus 6y equals +6. And in the bottom, when we distribute, we get 8x minus 6y equals -8. And then when I go to add these together, I'm ready to cancel the y's out. I would get some sort of answer for x. So both of those methods are going to work just fine. You just got to find it. Sometimes in these more difficult problems, you got to find a least common multiple that you can turn both of those coefficients into. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so hopefully you got what you need to finish up the packet. Like I said, I'm at my computer all day from 10 to 3 tomorrow to help you guys as well. So if you just want to check your answers or get help with one more problem, just email me.